Tim's American Beauty was made by Robust Tools, America's premier lathe manufacturer. Quality hardened tool rests and live centers too. Robust. Built to turn wood. Enjoyed for a lifetime.
Thompson Lathe Tools, made by a woodturner, for woodturners. Okay, now we're ready to get to the fun part. Good Lord. Anyway, I'm going to take this, and I didn't tell you about that. See how that overlaps? So it seats in really good. It's a really cool fit. I mean, I really love how that works. It's secure. We're going to use a lot of glue on here, but not the glue you might think. So the thing you want to test is you get it to clamp all together, right? And then if you hold this, whoops, it doesn't clamp again. I'm going to do that again. It's hard to hold it clamped. But if it just spins like that, you're perfect, because that gives you enough wiggle room for when this wood expands and contracts, it's not going to break. If you use something like super glue or epoxy, it doesn't give. You have to use a glue like this. Now, it looked really hard, and I'm trying to read the thing over. This is called Liquid Nails Perfect Glue, right? Okay, yeah. The Bengal guy uses Liquid Nails Home Project Glue. This is the closest I could find in my neighborhood, but basically what it is it's kind of like a silicone type of glue, really sticky, but it's flexible, and flexible is the important thing here. So sticky is the side thing, and that's why I'm going to put gloves on. No, it didn't work. Okay, there we go. I do this way too often. Anyway, so this is where it gets really messy, because you got to use a lot of glue to make sure you have good contact all the way through, because that glue will actually hold the metal bands together too. So the very first thing I want to do is unhook this, and I'm going to unscrew this. And we're going to take about a 1/8 inch bead of glue, if I can get it to come out, all the way around. And he says be messy, because you can always take the glue off later, but you can't put new glue back in if you don't get enough. So then you just take your finger and put a nice thick bead on there. So this takes up the gap that you have where you made it just a little bit too big, so it'll roll around the band, right? Okay, so that's all gooped up. Now come over here and do the same thing and goop. Ugh. Hang on a second. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. It's like toothpaste. You got to start at the bottom. Now I've done a couple bangles, so I'm almost out of glue. So I'm going to put a bead on here like so. And again, you don't have to worry about being messy. It's take you back to your childhood when you're making mud pies and stuff. So that one's good and goopy. And the trick is to take this, and as you put it in, rotate it like so, so you get good contact all the way through, okay? So go over to this side, and this will take about 24 hours to dry, so this is going to be an extra long show. You're just going to have to get a cup of cocoa and sit and watch, right? Nah. But that's where our cooking show thing comes in. We'll show you here. But anyway, take this one in and spin it as it goes in, so you get a good 360 rotation. There we go. Trust me, it's happening. So I get that in, and I've got glue everywhere, right? So I'm going to come in now with a clamp. The cool thing about this rubber glue is, even though you're going to get it on every daggum thing you own, it is rubber and it will peel off afterwards, so it doesn't really destroy anything. So there, I got one on each side, and I have to be careful and do one more on each corner so I get a full clamp all the way around. And again, leave this for 24 hours before you come back. And then when you come back, you will have this. Now, he only sent me 2 of the perfect blue ones. He sent me a wood one too, which I think is kind of cool. So this is one that I have glued up, and you can see my little rubber thingies are on there. So the first thing I want to do, it's going to take me a little bit, and I'll do that off camera so you don't have to watch glue dry, paint dry, whatever. I'm just going to peel this with my finger so that this ring on the inside has no glue on it, and then we can mount it on the lathe without having anything in the way. Okay, as you can see, we have this mounted on the chuck now on the extended jaws again, and I did use my handy little stick to space it, so it should spin pretty steady as it goes around. That looks good. Got my tool rest ready, and one thing I forgot to mention is before you put the glue on the metal, there's some oils and greases used during the manufacturing process. I couldn't find any on there. They clean them really well, but you might want to use something like xylene or acetone or alcohol to clean the metal before you put the glue on, because that way the glue will have a better chance of sticking. And why do I have a gallon of this? Because it was on sale when I went by Lowe's the other day. That was kind of cool. And not those glasses. These glasses. Okay, this is just an easy, God, stuff is everywhere. This is an easy part here. We're just gonna turn this on, and we're gonna basically bring the wood down to the level of the metal. If you turn the metal a little bit, it doesn't matter because you're using a carbide tool and you're gonna be sanding the metal anyway. So I'm just gonna take it step by step and just gently take away the wood. So I'm not gonna rush it, because if I rush it, then I can get myself in trouble. So we'll just step in like this. And once I get it down to almost flush with the metal, then we're going to crown it just a bit to give it a little bit of shape. It's going a lot faster than I thought it would go. Yeah, we're getting there. Now we're almost there. Yeah, let's try this in one shot here. One of the reasons too I'm using the piece of wood to get me away from the jaws is I can turn on the other side here without worrying about hitting the chuck itself. So that's really pretty cool. Now I'm going to start trailing the tool down so I can get a really nice clean cut. Okay, and now you see there's the metal. I'm coming right up to the edge of it. You might see a little strand of metal come off here in a second. There, a little bit of metal came off. We're just going to put a dome right here. Come back to this side. Blend it in. There we go. We're looking good. Oh my gosh. That's pretty good. Let's stop it real quick. Feels like there's a good finish on that from the tool. Yeah, I'm going to start sanding this probably about 400 grit. So that's perfect. So I'm going to sand this up, and once we have it sanded up, I'll show you the finish we're going to put on it. Now before I go a whole lot further, I'm taking a dental pick tool and I'm just running it in the groove here. There's a little bit of a groove I got. It's tighter over here, but still what I want to do is get as much of that glue out of here so when I put my finish on in a minute, you won't see finish on top of glue. It'll just look like it's part of the whole piece. It'll go into the metal, to the wood. So anyway, just do a little bit of this, get it cleaned out. You can take some of that xylitol too and run it on here and clean it up even more. It'll move the rest of the glue, and then just let it dry for about 20 minutes. Then you can put the finish on. So anyway, I am going to sand this all the way up to 12,000 grit, by the way. I want to get a really high-end gloss on this wood. Now the finish that we're going to use is a little bit, not toxic, but it smells bad. Cyanoacrylate, and we're going to be using the accelerator too. So that is why if you look over here, we have the door open in the shop. You don't normally see my ugly backyard, which hasn't been mowed in time for this shoot. But anyway, the idea is to get fresh air in here. So this is going to happen fairly quickly. We're going to take this, open it up. Like I said, fairly quickly, right? This is medium cyanoacrylate. I like to do the thin, but I'm doing what the Bengal guy did, and he's doing the thick. So I'm just going to take and put a few drops on here, and this is real quick. You want to push with enough pressure to get on there, and you're off. Now what you're going to do is take this, squirty squirty, and let it go. If you put it on too thick, you'll get bubbles because it accelerates. But that's dry already. I'm going to another piece of paper towel. Just going to do it one more time. Boom, boom, like that. And go back, squirty, squirty. We're going to do 2 more times. You don't want to do a whole lot of layers of cyanoacrylate because it can weaken the glue bond. At least that's what I was told. So there we go, like that. If you do this really well, you don't have to do anything to the finish, but if you do get a little bit of ripple in there, you can lightly sand the finish to get a really nice polish on there. So anyway, we're going to, oh, that, okay. We'll just let that set for a minute, and then we'll move on to the next step. Now I did need to sand mine a little bit, and since this doesn't have plastic in it, it probably doesn't have to go up to 12,000 grit, so I stopped at 4,000. But anyway, you want to take some plastic polish at this point, and any one you want to use is fine. This is what, Hutz Ultra Gloss. So I'm just going to put a little bit on here, not much at all, and you got to be careful about splatter because this is spinning, so I just want to delicately apply it there. So now it's on there. But anyway, the whole idea here is we're going to buff it, so we're going to pick the speed up. And since that's a cyanoacrylate finish, right? Well, it's like plastic. So when you buff it, look at the shine hitting that now. And so you can actually see some of the dark color that's coming off the stainless steel. Come over here one more time like so. But anyway, this is how you do this. This is pretty cool, huh? I'm gonna stop that. Let me get my chuck key here to take this off. Open, close. Now, if you happen to wind up with, nope, that's the wrong way, some marks in here, all you have to do is take like a Dremel with a little steel brush and brush it on the inside, and I'll mess it up. But actually, I noticed my chuck jaws aren't leaving any marks. Aren't those beautiful? Now that is how you make a really nice bracelet, or as the Bengal guy calls it, a bangle. But anyway, I appreciate him sending me these materials. Again, it's bengalguy.com, and he does have some videos on how to do this. He does it a little bit differently than me, but that is how you make a great bracelet. So until the next time on Wood Turning, keep turning.
Tim's American Beauty was made by Robust Tools, America's premier lathe manufacturer. Quality hardened tool rests and live centers too. Robust. Built to turn wood. Enjoyed for a lifetime.
Thompson Lathe Tools, made by a woodturner for woodturners.